Hello, so today I am talking to the lovely Sally Smy from Queen Bee Styling. Hello Sally.
Hi, Hannah.
Thank you for joining me. I'm not in my office at work today because I am at home homeschooling in inverted commas, because actually my daughter's schooling herself right now. But how are you, Sally?
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm in my office at the moment, so as you can see, it's not very closed off. So I hope nobody appears in the background. They are all my children are on lessons, but and the dog's been told to be quiet. But let's hope we don't
Let's
get
keep our fingers
interruptions.
crossed.
That's the plan.
So Sally, I first met you back in 2014 when we both did the Work and Family show at the London Excel, didn't we?
That's right. Yeah, that was an interesting show, wasn't it?
Definitely. Yes, I mean, it's really sad it didn't last, because I think it was great to have somewhere where everyone kind of working for the same kind of people, like women who had children and were still ambitious, that, you know, like it was a great kind of place to gather. But so what's your background? And you were a former fashion buyer, aren't you?
Yes. So my long-term career that I had before having children was as a ladies' wear fashion buyer. So I worked for Tesco's. I was a buying manager there. That was the last job I had, and then before that, I'd worked at Arcadia and Debenhams. So yeah, that's gave me pretty good grounding to doing what I'm doing now.
So how did you go from being a fashion buyer to being a fashion stylist? What was the journey?
Well, I had been thinking. I mean, buying it was really tough when you've got a family, because when I went on maternity leave and I had my daughter, and I found it hard when I went back because there was lots of travelling. But I mean, I absolutely love the job and I love fashion. So I had been thinking about what else I could do. But then when I was on maternity leave, I suddenly lost my way. So despite working in fashion, it didn't make any difference. I still felt that I'd lost me. I was just wearing my old tracksuit bottoms and an anorak that was just like awful. And you know, I hadn't dyed my hair, and yeah, I just felt like I'd let myself go, which is understandable. You know, my focus was on my child and keeping it alive, so I wasn't really thinking about how I dressed. And it was only when I had to go back to work and I got myself back on track that I shared this with my friends, like my experience, and I realized that many women felt the same. So that's when I thought, actually, I can help them as far as clothing is concerned. It takes an effort, but you know, you can get yourself back on track and feeling more like you again, and I think that's the most important thing. So that's when I was inspired to set up my business. And then there was a lot of faffing in between, a few notebooks filled up, lots of going online. And then when I had my son, my second child, now or never, you know, if I either go back into the workplace as a buyer, or I take this as the opportunity to set up. So I knew once I'd gone back into work, there would never be a point that I'd want to leave. So that was my inspiration to then set up as a personal stylist.
And I totally can relate to that. I absolutely lost all sense of myself when I had my son. And I look back at photos now when he was young, and it's lovely to see him as a baby, but God, I hate looking at photos of me from that time. Like, my haircut and the clothes I was wearing were hideous.
Yeah, it's awful. I actually thought when I went shopping that everybody had made things a lot smaller. So I was just trying to get in stuff that was 2 sizes bigger than I used to wear. And I was thinking, well, it can't be right, can it? They must have made everything smaller while I was on maternity leave. Like, I just wouldn't have it at all. It just felt awful. It's just, and I've spoken to other people about it, and it's just, I think it's like they say it's just a tunnel. And one minute you're just focused and you're not really thinking about that, and then one day you wake up and you think, oh my goodness, where have I gone? You know, where is that person that, you know, didn't used to pick up the nearest thing on the floor and throw it on, you know? And I think it's always, you know, we get to that point in various different stages, but I think once you get to that point and it really bothers you, then that's the time to do something about it.
So you were a fashion buyer, so that there must be a lot of what you do now that takes knowledge and expertise from that time, because I imagine part of what you do is probably kind of like psychological and about that individual person's taste, but also part of it is about knowledge about how you find great clothes and what's well made and things like that. Is that true? Is that the case?
Yeah, I think there's two sides to it, I would say. The the really positive thing, I think, is when you come from a buying background, you realise that, you know, most of us aren't a size 10. You know, that isn't the most popular size. A size 16 and 14 is the most popular size. And, you know, our wardrobes aren't all bells and whistles. They're not all fashion forward. You know, they're made up of good, solid basics. And those are the things that people buy into more. And you also realise that actually, you know, it isn't about trend. It is about newness and being up to date and feeling modern, but it isn't about wearing the latest trends. I mean, I've always bought for what is called the middle market. So it's the, you know, it's not the top shops and the real fashion forward boohoo's and those sorts of places. It's actually sort of more investment and sort of, you know, people around about 30, 40-year-old night. So that's why it's been a really good grounding for me, because you have to dress real shapes. You have to allow for real figures. Things have to be new, but they have to be wearable as well. So I think that type of it has given me a really good grounding. And then from a more sort of technical point of view, it's actually seeing what goes into a good garment. It's seeing value for money. It's recognizing actually that's a really expensive fabric, and you know, you can get that from M&S and that's really good quality, and that you're paying £100 for that, and that's actually better made than that £500 coat that's in a very small label that's actually you know, they're not testing their fabrics, they've not got the expertise in their fit right just yet. I'm not saying that all small labels aren't good. I'm just saying that you need to be able to find some, you know, there's labels that have been bought by certain shops that people think they're buying into the original label, and they're not. They're actually buying the name as opposed to the make, and the make could be the same as you're getting at, you know, £100 lower price, but that you're then paying extra. So I think that's the technical aspect of it, you know. And we used to do a lot of customer focused work as well. So you realise, you know, women need to feel good, but they need to feel like themselves, and they need to dress themselves. And, you know, the reality of not supermarkets, high street fashion and style is it's real. It's about real women. It's completely different from magazine editorial, where you're making somebody who's a size, you know, a very small size, look fantastic in expensive clothes. It's, you know, it has to work in the real world. So I think that's been the most useful thing that I can take into my styling business.
And when you go through people's wardrobes, don't you? You help them sort it out. So what are the top sins, wardrobe sins, that you notice that people should avoid?
The top sins, I'd say the things that I come up against the most, I would say, is too many dark colours, having a comfort zone, buying into the same thing. You know, I once counted 12 black cardigans in somebody's wardrobe. And there's always something. It's like black trousers, grey cardigans, grey jumpers. You know, there's that whole comfort zone of things that we buy into. And I do it. You know, mine used to be stripes. You know, I know where my Achilles is, and I have to move away from buying any more stripes. But yeah, so I think too many dark things. I think dressing for a different size. So it could be that we're hanging on to things that we used to wear because we're giving ourselves an unrealistic sort of expectation of being able to get back to a size that we were sort of, you know, 10 or however many years ago. And then the other thing is like dressing in stuff that actually is too big, so just sort of hiding away in stuff that's really baggy. So I think, and the other one is not having things altered. So if you're petite and you've got that zigzaggy bit at the end of your trousers because you haven't bothered to take them up, that will actually reduce your, you know, it won't elongate the leg, it actually cuts it off and makes it look shorter. So it's all those little things that they take a little bit more effort, but actually if you get them right, you're more likely to wear more of your wardrobe, I think, and feel good in it.
It's that thing, isn't it, that we have wardrobes that are so stuffed full that they just kind of fall out as you open the doors, and we never have anything to wear, and we resort to the same few things. If someone wanted to overhaul their wardrobe, and so it's lockdown, we're not doing much of the weekend at the moment, and they wanted to spend half a day, what would you advise them to do to get their wardrobe sorted out?
I think the crucial thing has to be starting with you and what you like. So I think sometimes we wrap ourselves up in expectations and comparison of what we should wear and how we should dress and how we should be. And when I speak to people, like with my clients, I send them a questionnaire and I'd say, like, describe your style. I don't have any. You know, is there anyone you're inspired by? No one. You know, how would you describe it? You know, and I think a lot of people come from a place that I don't have that style. I don't know what to do. But there is always, in every single wardrobe, there's always a little nugget of something that people love to wear. So it ticks all the boxes. They feel good in it. Ultimately, it fits them well. It suits their lifestyle. So my starting point would always be, find those things that you love to wear and build from there. You know, start from there. Find that absolute thing that, you know, you fills you with joy, and then, you know, that, and then you can develop it. So it might be you love wearing jeans, but you've only got one pair that you really love to wear. So you think, okay, I love wearing jeans. What is the update? How can I update it? What is the style that's around at the moment that's going to make me feel comfortable and going to make me feel good? It's as simple as that, you know, just moving yourself on, refreshing, updating it, but always starting from you.
And where can people go for fashion inspiration then? Obviously there's sort of fashion magazines, but as you say, there certainly sort of the high-end fashion magazines, it's not fashion that we could wear or would wear. So where do you advise people to look for fashion inspiration? And then also secondary question, why should they be inspired by fashion?
Well, I think it has to come from a point of view. You know, I always say, if it doesn't bother you, if you're not fussed by it, then that's absolutely fine. But I think if you're somebody who feels like they're not themselves, or they feel like they're not making them, you know, your clothes are having an impact, a negative impact on how you feel about yourself, I think that's when you need to do something about it. And you know, my clients aren't people that are dressed in rags and, you know, living under a stone and suddenly I transform them like you see on the TV program. They're actually people that care about fashion. They've just lost their way because they haven't got the time, or they've been out of the loop, or their lifestyle's changed. So, you know, if it bothers you, do something about it. And sorry, I've lost what was your question.
And yes, yeah, so where people go for inspiration?
Yeah, so inspiration. I love Instagram. You know, I think there is a, be careful who you follow. Don't follow and make you feel rubbish. I've certainly unfollowed people whose lives I was there's a difference between being inspired and feeling like absolute crap every time you look at them. So I'd say, you know, follow people that inspire you, that you can see that, you know, you might not be able to afford everything they've got on their Instagram site, but actually you like what they're wearing and you can make that work. So Instagram's a good place. Pinterest, I think, is a good place. I mean, not so much now, but I get inspiration from people around me. So, you know, if I'm going shopping, I used to sit outside the Vogue's offices in London, like in Hanover Square, because they've got a cafe, and just watch what the Vogue people are wearing. And so, you know, street style I think is really good, because street style is actually stuff that's wearable. And I agree with you, I find I sometimes get really annoyed memes because they put together these really ridiculous look, and it's like £4 million everything together on the page, and I think that's just so not realistic. I mean, you know, I think maybe it was one time, but now it's not. You know, most people can't afford that, and that's why I think Instagram does it really well, because most of the people are real. They're wearing the outfits every day, and also they're you know, they're not all astronomically expensive. You know, they're quite a good balance. So yeah, so that's where I'd get my inspiration from. Street style pictures are really good if you're looking for something to sort of shake you up a bit. I like the sort of street style pictures.
I find it quite hard. I get inspired by seeing people around, and I find right now not seeing anyone because we're in lockdown, and then because it's winter, when I do see people, everyone's just dressed for comfort. They're, you know, in like an old coat, and I don't know about you, but whether you found this over the last kind of few months in your job, but I've hardly bought any clothes since, you know, in the last few months, where I would normally buy a lot. And I'm not even, like, when I see sale rails, I'm not excited by them at the moment, because I'm just not going anywhere to wear them, and I'm not seeing people like, I see, wow, I love how she's paired that dress with those trainers and that jacket and that bag, and then want to kind of go and replicate that myself. Have you found that?
No, because because it's my job, I suppose. But most of my clients, so I'm working virtually now with my clients. So, and I know everyone's feeling the same. But there are things to wear now that, if you're looking for this, if you're looking for stuff to lift your mood, or just looking for new things, or to shake up the wardrobe, there are things that you can buy. But I think, I think the parameters are definitely narrowed in terms of what they are. But I would say, in terms of inspiration, I think Instagram is probably the one that is doing it well. But I think it's my job to look at, to be inspired, and to advise and to keep on top of it. But if it wasn't my job in lockdown, like most of the people I speak to, I wouldn't be following fashion. So it's not a surprise. And I still, I do miss seeing people that look great in the street. So I think I think everybody should give themselves an easy time in terms of not shopping and not updating their wardrobe.
I think I spent much more on pajamas and chunky cardigans.
The cardigan's good. I think what I like to think of are the things that, okay, it's lockdown, but I don't really want 45 pairs of elastic tracksuit bottoms. I think you need to think of the things that you're going to love wearing afterwards. So it is like a bright cardi. It is an overshirt. I think those are the things that they look new, they look fresh, but you're still likely to wear them afterwards. And I think those are the things you should buy into now, the ones that you're going to wear next summer. And then and I sent out an Instagram post this week, and just saying, like, most of us are going to want to burn our sort of lockdown wardrobes, because it's just going to be grey and tracksuits and all this stuff. And I've had so many people come back and say, yes, I really want to burn it, but not yet. I'm just waiting to be inspired. So hopefully spring, I'm hopeful that spring will be the time that we all start to emerge
like butterflies
out
of our loungewear cocoons.
Yes, exactly. We can put them all on the fire.
Yes. So have you got any tips? I remember, like, we were speaking once, and you said that M&S are really good for coats. They do really good quality coats. So have you got any kind of top tips like that, like places to go that maybe great bags, or great shoes, or things not to buy, like M&S, let's say, are really bad at swimming costumes, for example?
Yeah. So just going through the top sort of mid-range people, because obviously there's so many brands out there, but I'll stick to the big key ones. I would say M&S are good for coats. Max are really good value for money, because like I was saying before, there is a bit of a movement onto not using big brands, but there are some big brands. M&S is a UK brand, and they have good ethics. And I think by supporting them, you're keeping a lot of people in work, and also they're very, very good at what they do. So a Mac in M&S would use a similar price. They were able to use quite expensive fabrics because they buy so many. So you are getting good value. I mean, you have to like it, but things like Macs and coats are really good at M&S. Cashmere is really good at M&S. Uniqlo, their Inez de la Frances, I've probably said that wrong, but her range that does tailoring, they do like 100% wool fabrics, which are really, really good, really good quality and really well made at a fraction of the usual price that you would pay for them. So they're really good for tailoring, and they're also good Uniqlo for knitwear. And I swear by their Heat Tech, which I've talked about quite a lot before. It's like a very, very fine thermal undergarment that I wear underneath all my knitwear, and it's brilliant because it regulates your temperature. So if you're cold, it gets hot, and vice versa. So you're not sweating in polyester underneath a nice woolly knitwear. So that's good. People like And Other Stories, I like for they're good for blouses. They're also good for coats, and they're good for accessories. COS are good for, if you're larger sized, they're really good for trousers, because they're quite a generous fit, and they're also good for knitwear as well. So they're quite good if you're tall and broad. Who else can I think of? Yeah, I think Reese are good for sort of more smarter wear, but they're probably obviously not quite so relevant now. But they are trying to relax their look. But yeah, those would be my go-to. COS and Other Stories, you know, M&S. Whistles are good quality as well. Their knitwear is good quality. Their jeans are good quality too. And Topshop actually have a good jeans range. I'm not quite sure what's going to happen to them at the moment. Don't buy any vouchers from them, but actually they do have good high street denim.
Excellent. And what about those kind of online brands? So one of the things that when I talk to my friends, it's like, where do we go shopping? Because I'm at an age now where I've kind of moved beyond the high streets, as in kind of the high street shops I have in my town, certainly. And I love TK Maxx because you can often buy stuff, like you never know what's going to be there, and you can find brands that you wouldn't normally see in your town. But what about online stores? What about, are there any good things like Hush is great, but any kind of thing that people might not know about?
Yeah, Hush is good. I like Me and M. They're quite expensive, but they're very good for smarter, sort of quite relaxed wear. They're not sort of tracksuit relaxed, but they're more comfortable relaxed. But they are at a higher price point, but their stuff is really well made. Then you have people like the French brands that are good if you're petite or you're looking for something that's a bit more of a classic with a twist. So they're made quite well. So you've got Marge, Sandro, Bash, it's like B''SH. And then you have like more the Scandinavian brands like Essential Antwerp. They're quite good because the Scandinavian brands tend to size their things quite big. So if you're sort of the larger size, they can be quite good. So Essential Antwerp, Ganni, I'm just trying to think of, my mind's gone blank now. I can always follow this up afterwards with a few more ideas. And then there are sort of independent brands.
Sorry about that. I had to, ironically, I was saying to Sally, the postman rang because one of my lockdown purchases, I have been buying lots of accessories on lockdown in the sale. So
yeah, we're loving the shoulder bag. They're very good. We all need the slightly smaller handbags now as well, don't we? So I think the shoulder bags are brilliant. I love them. Whistles are good, actually. They've got a really good selection of shoulder bags, which are all leather. So if anyone's looking, that one's Hush, they're good too.
Brilliant.
So just in terms of smaller brands, there are so many out there. It's hard to put, you know, to put them into a concise list, because, and also some of them are really expensive. You've got places like the Row, which everyone talks about, and Toto M. And what I would suggest is, if you're looking for inspiration in terms of what to buy, go onto Sheer Luxe and Who What Wear websites. So as opposed to trying to individually search for the smaller brands, go onto the websites that then they will tell you the smaller brands, or for instance, they will have a selection of blouses if you're looking for blouses, and then you'll get a sort of a bit of an idea of some of the brands to follow, because there's been a huge explosion in terms of smaller independent brands, because obviously now they don't need shops and things like that to actually set up, and there's some brilliant ones out there. What I would say is, you know, narrow it down to a few. Always look on Instagram first and see, you know, who's wearing their things and what they look like, and always check their returns policy as well, so that, you know, you are covered if you need to send stuff back, because there are some dodgy sites out there. My daughter sent my mum a link for Christmas from a website that actually, when I looked at it and went into detail and looked at the reviews, it was a really dodgy, you know, counterfeit goods if you did get anything, and most people didn't get anything. So just do your research. If you're not sure and it's not a big name, then do your research.
Yeah, I always, if I'm shopping somewhere new, I'll go and look at the reviews, not on the site itself. Well, I do for the individual products, but I'll go and look at the site's reviews online as well.
Definitely, it's brilliant. So it's like Google and Trustpilot. Always look, if it's not someone you're familiar with, then always look, because there are people on Instagram that will just make something look fantastic, and then you know, you might get delivery, but it will be like my friend got like a dress that was made for, she's probably a size, she's quite larger size, and she got a dress that wouldn't have fitted my daughter, you know, it was tiny. So yeah, so just be aware, because, you know, unfortunately there are some sharks out there. And also like I was saying about the whole quality issue, some of the smaller brands might not always have the resources, or they might get hit by a dodgy fabric, which a knitwear that after one wash it peels. So always make sure that you're covered and you can return it. I mean, that can happen with the bigger brands as well. So I always say to my clients, things you should expect to be able to wear things for a couple of times a week for over 6 months before they show signs of wear. And if they do show signs of wear before that and you haven't worn them enough, always take them back, always return them, because they're not fit for purpose. And that's part of the statutory rights to actually be able to return them, because they're not fit for purpose.
Okay, brilliant. And have you got any kind of final shopping tips for people?
So I mean, I
quite a lot. So
yeah, sorry, yeah,
covered quite a lot.
Like I said, I think people do get overwhelmed by shopping. I think we feel like we need to start out there when we're shopping, just literally go out. It's all going to come at me. It's all going to be thrown at me. And that's not how it works. It's like everything else. It has to come from you. So you have to start with what you need, what you like, what works with your lifestyle, and then go out there and try to find the things. So don't overwhelm yourself with choice. Like I was saying earlier, if jeans are your thing and you have one pair and you need a new pair of jeans, start with that. Research some jeans brands, look at the ones you like, and then and get some ideas of trends, and get some inspiration, and then sort of do a focused list of what you need, because I think anything without a plan is really hard, and shopping is no different. So always have a bit of a plan. Doesn't mean you can't buy that fantastic dress that you see that you love on the spur of the moment, but generally if we're shopping like that, then our wardrobe looks like that. Nothing's cohesive, it doesn't work together. So always start with you, what you need, and a plan.
And I say, I haven't worked with you, you haven't done my wardrobe, but many years ago, a friend of mine is a fashion stylist as well. She did mine, and it was a revelation. I didn't know how emotional it gets, our relationship with clothes, but also there were so many things that I would see on other people that looked good, and I would buy them because I liked them on someone else, and of course it never looked good on me. Or I would do that classic thing by seeing someone who had, I've got quite short legs, and seeing someone with long slim legs and a pair of jeans, buying those jeans thinking they're going to make my legs look like hers, and and colours and things like that. And so after she did my wardrobe, it was quite a surprise how many things I was buying that didn't actually suit me and what did suit me. But also the clever way she put things together. So she might take 6 individual items and there'd be 20 outfits out of it in a way that I'd never think of putting them together. And it really brought, when I had my session with her, it gave me my love of fashion back again. I don't mean high fashion, I just mean wearing clothes and feeling good in them and being playful around clothes as well. I was really surprised at just how it wasn't just about, oh, I've got a wardrobe that's tidier now, or I've got clothes that fit me. It just really reignited my passion for the clothes that reflected me, no one else, just me.
Yeah, and I think that's what it does. I think when you strip away the things that aren't working for you, it means you can hone in on the things that do, and build from there. And also, less in your wardrobe means you can be more creative with it. And I think it's important to not compare and not try to be someone else and buy stuff just because it looks good on someone else or because it's the trend. I think you need to strip it back and focus on you and have less in your wardrobe. I think I learned that the hard way, because when I stopped being a buyer, I had no money to spend on clothes, and then all my clothes were just not working for me. So I had to, I did have a smaller wardrobe, and that actually taught me that you don't need a lot, you just need the right things and the right things for you. And then you can be more creative. You will put together new combinations because you're not sorting through, 80% of your wardrobe that you're not wearing. And like you say, it's not just the clothes, it's the effect it has on you. And I think you can't really, it's hard to explain that to people until you're there, and you've been through the process. With clients, they're very nervous, and they don't think it's going to make any difference, but they seem to want to do it and they don't want to do it. And actually, you know, when they've been through the whole process and come out the other side, they're different people, because like you say, they've reignited their love of fashion. It's not me telling them, it's them. Then, you know, it's I start them off and guide them, and then they go off on their own. And, you know, I often get texts from people saying, oh, I bought this, what do you think? And I put this together and I love this. And that's what I want to do. You know, I want people to feel good about it, and I want them to go off and be able to do it themselves. So I think that's the important thing. Like we started with that, you know, it's how you feel. And if you want to feel good, you want to have fun, you want to experiment. There's a lot worse things you can do in life than dressing. You know, I think that's one of the nicer things we get to do, is sort of fashion and dressing. It beats doing housework.
Definitely, lots of things beat housework. Well, thank you very much, Sally. Where can people find you if they want to learn more about what you do or contact you?
So my website is queenbeestyling.com. I am on Instagram as Queen Bee Styling, Sally Smy. So you can connect with me on LinkedIn as Sally Smy. I'm trying to be a bit more proactive on Instagram, so I always reply to my messages. And also I do have a style subscription that's completely free, which I just send out regular sort of seasonal updates, what to buy, you know, how to put it together. So it's not spam, it's all, you know, really good information. And that goes out monthly, so you can sign up to that completely free if you go onto my website. So
I get that, and I always really like reading it. It's always really, you always learn something in every single one.
Well, it really gets good feedback, actually, and it's one of the things that before I set up my business, I didn't consider myself as somebody who enjoyed writing, and that's been the real unexpected bonus. I absolutely love doing it. I really enjoy it, and I really enjoy the feedback and sort of connecting with people. So it's been good.
Well, thank you so much for your time today, Sally.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
You.
Bye.
Bye.